All right, so we can start with your name and your organization, chapter information, all
Sure,
that.
sure. So my name is Terrence Lewis. I'm originally from Columbus, Georgia. I'm a member, proud member of Omega Psi Phi Fraternity Incorporated. I was initiated in the Omega Psi Phi Fraternity through the Beta Eta chapter in the spring of 2015. The Beta Eta chapter is located and was chartered at the University of Alabama in Tuscaloosa, Alabama.
Okay, so what was your introduction to the Divine Nine?
Yeah, so my introduction to the Divine Nine is both professional and personal. So I'll start off with what's personal. So my mom is actually a member of Delta Sigma Theta. And what's unique about that experience is that my aunt is also a member of Delta Sigma Theta, and they cross the same line. So my mom was we call it the ace, or the first person to stand on her line. And then my aunt was what we refer to as a tail, or the last person to stand on their line. So they both crossed at Troy University. It was Troy State at the time. They were the second line to cross at Troy University in the fall of 1977. And so just kind of being around both my mom and my aunt, they're both extremely close, seeing how they exemplified their organization's ideals and principles in their everyday lives as mothers, as Black women, was one inspiring for me. And then I also have a professional connection. So all of my educators had some type of connection to the Divine Nine, the ones that were Black, which were very few in numbers, but all of my coaches were in Black fraternities, and ironically, they just so happened to be members of Omega Psi Phi fraternity.
So your mom, your aunt, all these educators, were they your inspiration and motivation for you to pursue your organization?
Yeah, absolutely. Mom was definitely the first inspiration, and then the educators, because growing up, I didn't have a lot of Black educators. And so the ones that I did have, they were very inspirational to me. They were role models for me, and I would think others as well, but definitely for me. And I can only help but to think that a lot of the things that they did, both inside of the classroom and outside of the classroom, was largely due to their connection with their organizations.
Okay, so can you tell us about the NPHC, what it is its purpose, how is it different from the APA, the Alabama Panhellenic Association, here at the university?
Yeah, so the NPHC is known as the National Panhellenic Council, also referred to as the Divine Nine. And so from an organizational standpoint or a governance standpoint, the NPHC serves as the governing body for the Divine Nine, the 9 organizations that make up the body. And so its purpose is to essentially be a voice, to be an advocate for the organizations, all of the organizations, and ensure the proper functioning of all of the organizations. And then also to serve as a mediator or a safe space or place where all of the organizations can go and discuss issues or concern of mutual concern across all of the organizations that make up the Divine Nine. And now some of the more, I guess, practical purposes of the NPHC in terms of its organizations is to serve as an educational, economic, and just an overall empowerment body for communities all across the nation and globally, especially communities that might be financially poor, or communities that might consist of a lot of people of color, Black people in particular.
Okay. So how can the NPHC benefit students even if they choose not to join a Greek organization?
Yeah, I think one of the ways that the NPHC can benefit all students is by learning from its grassroots type of style in terms of inciting or facilitating social change. And so I'm currently reading a book about the Delta Sigma Theta Sorority Incorporated. That's the historiography of Delta. A similar book just recently came out that I read about the Omega Psi Phi Fraternity Incorporated, and it shows just how much of a grassroots organization that all of the fraternities and sororities that make up the Divine Nine are. So I think that's one of the things that students can learn is that if there's a problem or some type of concern within the local community that students might have, and they want to work towards some type of change within their local communities, learning from the individuals who have been members of organizations within the Divine Nine can serve as a great starting point for them in those endeavors.
Okay. What are some misconceptions about Black Greek letter organizations, and how do you think they can be addressed or countered?
Yeah, so I think one of the common misconceptions is that it's all about partying. That the organizations that make up the Divine Nine are extremely social. And don't get me wrong, there is a social component to all of the organizations that make up the Divine Nine, but that's not the sole purpose, or not. It's not even the first purpose of the organizations that make up the Divine Nine. So I think that's a common misconception. I think one of the reasons that there is a misconception is that the NPHC is able to garner the support and crowd of a lot of people, regardless of if it's a social event or if it's something more educational or empowering for the community. And I do think social events are empowering, but empowering from the standpoint of responding to something that might be a concern in the community. So I think that's the most common misconception associated with the NPHC.
Okay. So what advice do you have for students who are interested or looking at joining Black Greek letter organizations?
I think the advice that I would give students who are interested in joining the NPHC organization is to, one, know the history. So once again, there are two great books on the historiography of two organizations within the Divine Nine, and those books are available to the public. One is actually housed here in the library at the University of Alabama, and that's called In Search of Sisterhood by Paula Giddings. That is a great book that explains the history of Delta Sigma Theta, but also the historiography of Black sororities in particular, and how they have served as a beacon for change within communities. And then another book that just recently came out is the history of my organization, the Omega Psi Phi Fraternity Incorporated. It's called With Faith in God and Heart in Mind, and it's very similar. Matter of fact, the authors of that book actually drew upon the work of Paula Giddings and her book about Delta Sigma Theta and Black sorority. So I would definitely say know the history of the organization. But secondly, I would say that you need to live the history of that organization. And then most importantly, you need to live it out in a way that provides or adds value to the original intent within the modern day context.
All right. Okay, so what is your familiarity with State Bill 129?
Yeah, I'm very familiar with Senate Bill 129. It's definitely impacted my work as a professor here at the University of Alabama in various ways. How much you want me to?
Like, you got full reign.
Yeah, and so what I think Senate Bill 129 is largely designed to do, I think is largely designed to chill the work that I just previously mentioned, that the NPHC has played a very instrumental role in being a part of, such as change as it pertains to Black people, communities, and folks that are financially poor. And so I think it's designed to kind of make organizations with the purposes that the NPHC have kind of reconsider and rethink if they want to engage in their work. And unfortunately, what we're seeing is that a lot of people are reconsidering and rethinking, and they're stopping instead of reconsidering, rethinking, and then strategizing how we can continue the work of our organizations and the important work that involves what could be deemed as divisive concepts amid not only the legislation of Senate Bill 129, but also some of the federal executive orders that we've seen come down the pipe with the election inauguration of President Donald Trump. So I think that's largely what it's designed to do, is to chill the work that I think really needs to be done, and the work that the NPHC has kind of led at the forefront in doing.
Okay, so do you think the bill is affecting the presence of Black and diverse organizations on campus? Do you see a change happening?
I would I, I would say that I don't think the bill is affecting the number of Black students that I see on campus. I think the number of Black students that are attending the University of Alabama has grown significantly. I think the numbers would support me there. I haven't looked at the report, but I think the numbers would support me in saying that. Just strictly anecdotal from an observation standpoint, from when I was here as an undergrad to now being a faculty member here, I can see more Black students on campus. However, I do question what some of those students are engaged in as it pertains to some of the issues that I see, or some of the things that I would deem issues within modern society that I think are impacting them. So I really don't see much going on that side of the house in terms of Black students and organizations responding. So to answer your question, I think Black students are here, but I think they are largely chilled by some of the legislation that we've seen both at the state and the federal level.
Do you have any ideas about how Black students, students of color, can remain in community with something like SB 129 in the air?
Yeah, I think it starts with a common understanding of how the bill is impacting them, not only from a social standpoint, but also from an academic standpoint. So once again, I mentioned that I am a college professor, and so my work as a collegiate professor has been impacted, and so yeah, I think students need to know and understand, what does it mean for you that your professor can assign this particular project, or if they assign this particular project, then there might be some type of repercussions or consequences for doing so. So what does that mean for you, and what are you missing out on by not being exposed to some ideas that others might seem or classify as being divisive? So what does that mean for you? So I think it starts with some common understanding, and I don't know if we have that. As I know we don't have it as a society, obviously, given the fact that we're seeing some of these bills and laws come up the pipe. But I think from a student standpoint, they need some of that common understanding regarding how it affects and impacts them. And then too, I think they need the space. What that space looks like, I'm not exactly sure. I have, ideas. I think a space doesn't have to necessarily be on campus. I think it most definitely can be on campus, but what does curating or creating a space outside of campus mean for Black students, and how that could be productive given some of the things that we've seen on campus. And then also, how might that space be used as a space of strategy or grassroots organizing that could then be brought back to campus to kind of influence or incite some type of change that they would like to see, given some of the restrictions that we've seen with Senate Bill 129.
Okay, that's all I have on the docket, but is there anything else you want to kind of add?
Yeah, I think it was one question, and I guess you can cut this out. What?
I'll pause. Okay. And what do you think is the future of the NPHC and Black Greek Letter organizations?
Yeah, that's a great question, and it's a question that gives me a lot of pause every day. That especially when I walk on campus. Every day I walk on campus, and so I'm very optimistic, and I'm very pessimistic about the future of the NPHC and Black Greek Letter organizations. I'll start off with what I'm pessimistic about. So I pulled a report today from the New York Times, and it came out a while ago, but I wanted the exact statistic regarding the number of Black men that we are seeing entering college. And so if you look at Howard University, and I think Howard is a very, very great measuring stick regarding a pulse of what's going on as it pertains to Black students and Black folk in particular. And so this past spring at Howard University, Black men only made up 14% of the student population at Howard. And we're talking about Howard, the mother of HBCUs in Washington, D.C., the nation's capital. And so that's quite concerning for a couple of reasons. I think the reason as it pertains to the NPAC and Black Greek letter organizations is that, especially fraternities, if we don't have Black men enrolling in college, then we're probably going to see a very, very slow but certain eradication of Black Greek letter fraternities. So that's very, very concerning. I think another thing that I'm pessimistic about is some of the things that I'm seeing related to Senate Bill 129 and some federal laws that has restricted or deemed, I personally think, being Black as divisive. I think that's what the laws have been doing. And so I'm pessimistic about how that might impact the work that I've read about the NPAC doing, the work that I've done personally with the NPAC, both with members of my fraternity, Omega Psi Phi, and members of other organizations, both fraternity and sorority. So that's concerning. How are we going to respond to that? But I'm optimistic about the fact that we have the blueprint. So we have the blueprint regarding how we can use our organizations on a grassroots level to incite change. Like we have that documented in the literature. And so I'm very optimistic about that. I think it's just going to take the NPHC sitting down as a whole, thinking about how is it that we can use our organizations today to respond to some of the changes that we desperately need within this modern context.
Okay. Anything else you would like to add? Or something I missed?
I think that was the only. Yeah, I think that was the only one.
Okay. Closing remarks. Anything else?
Closing remarks. Once again, I want to reiterate knowing the history of the organization. I think that is extremely important. And I think that's something that has been lost or is definitely not at the forefront of the NPHC at this present moment. So I would definitely say knowing the history and living that history and implementing that history in a modern context that adds value, that would make our ancestors and elders proud.
All right.
This button as you record.
Okay, so I just hit this.
Yeah.
Okay.
It might turn off, it might not while it's recording. Sometimes if you record for like 30 minutes straight, it'll turn off. I doubt this will take 30 minutes.
I don't think so.
This is a 5-minute documentary. You probably leave out some of the questions we even wrote down. I think
some of them we just made up for the assignment because
we did 10 questions per person.
10 questions per student, and I was like,
that's
for
a lot.
Interview.
Documentary?
I don't even know if I have 20 answers, but like we can figure something.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
Okay. I'm getting ready to clap. My ashy hands.
Now,
No, literally, I was like, how much of me is in here? Because I'm quite ashy.
You're like
it's like
this.
that.
yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
swear.
Okay. 1, 2, 3. Wait, should I introduce you, or should we do another voice over? Introduce yourself, Kendall.
To who? The camera?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Hi, my name is Kendall Wright. I'm the editor-in-chief of 1956 magazine here at the University of Alabama. I'm a senior, and I'm studying news media with a concentration in sports media and a minor in international business.
Lovely. So you are a active member of the Alpha Kappa. Jesus. Alpha Kappa Alpha sorority, correct?
Yes.
Okay. So how did you get into that? What made you want to cross over?
So my mom is actually alumni, and when she was here at the university, she did cross Theta Sigma. So when I asked her, I think I was in about like high school, and I think that's when Bama Rush really like took off, and I was like, Mom, are you in a sorority? And she was like, well, yes. And I was like, wait, hold on. And then when all was said and done, and I filled out my application, and I was committed to Alabama, I got here and I met some of the women who were in the sorority, and I was just like, yeah, Mom, you ate with this one. So that's really what inspired me to join.
Yeah, and when you say you met some of the women, and what was that experience like? Being a freshman and seeing all these new faces.
It was really interesting. It was almost not surprising because my mom had prepared me and told me that there was a Black community at the university, which was something I was kind of like unsure about because I know it is a PWI. So I was like, I'm not sure, but then I went to Onyx, I believe, and that was like 2 weeks after class started, and I was like, I found my community. I saw Theta Sigma perform, and I was just like, yeah, this is where I want to be.
Definitely, I think, I think coming here as a Black student, there is that big question of, am I going to find my people?
Yes,
the education
absolutely.
is great, but it's always a question of community. What was the intake process like?
It was really getting to know each other. We have a formal rush process, so you go in and you kind of just acclimate, or you kind of learn about the sorority, and you basically kind of show your interest through that. But it's a very, I would say it's a very like one-on-one process. Like you get to meet everybody that you're going to, I guess, be in a sisterhood with. So you come out of it with that bond, and people think that you can't, but I love all of my sisters.
Yeah, definitely. That was one of my questions. Do you feel like you've gotten that sisterhood, or how does your sorority personally fulfill you?
Oh my gosh, absolutely. So first of all, last weekend or this weekend was Black Alumni Weekend, and so my mom actually just left today, but like she's also my sister because you're in the sorority for life, and so she's still active. And seeing her come back on campus and see some of her sisters, and then I get to meet her line sisters and show them to mine, and we kind of just see how the chapter's progressed since she crossed. She's gonna be mad at me, but that was like 35 years ago. But like seeing how much it's grown and everything, and she'd be like, oh my gosh, the house used to be here, used to be there, and just kind of showing how it's evolved, but it still has all of the history within it, and just kind of like, it's a bond for life. And being able to share that with like my mom, and then as well as like other like-minded women on campus is something like so beautiful. And I always know I have a group of wonderful girls to fall back on.
Yes, it's beautiful. Not whatever. But no, yeah, definitely. You say just having this space on campus and on a PWI. How do you feel that you're able to explore your Blackness, or how does this space aid the Blackness, the presence of Blackness on campus?
I think it's super important because a lot of the events that we host as a chapter cater to just about any Black person on campus, and it's not just for women, that events that we host, and we kind of make sure that we're covering a wide base of, it could be hobbies, it could be education. We do a lot of things that talk about things going on in the community and addressing, as well as activity and community service and things like I don't know why I'm blanking, but things like community service. So we really make sure that every facet of the Black experience, whether you're on campus as well as the Tuscaloosa community as well, is taken into account.
Yeah, definitely. I think I see what you guys post on your Instagram all the time. Notice are on.
That's me.
Oh my god. She's
Not
social
all the time,
media
not all the
manager.
time. I mean, my heart is here. My heart is also with my sisters, and sometimes it's in the form of a social media.
Absolutely. That was a question I had for you. Being an AKA and editor-in-chief of the only Black student publication on campus, you have a very unique position in a PWI, being surrounded by Blackness and Black excellence and accomplishments all the time. And I just want to know, how do you see the sort of dichotomy between these spaces versus what we know about the university being a PWI and the social scene and the white Greek life of sororities and fraternities, and
I think it's super special because when the magazine was founded back in 2020, it was actually founded by an older sister of mine from Theta Sigma. Tiana Tate actually started the magazine, and she was the first editor-in-chief, so to be able to follow in her footsteps is something like super special. And I also just think that it's crazy how much we know about the university in terms of it being a grounds for a lot of the civil rights, not the entire civil rights movement, of course, but like the stand in the schoolhouse doors, Bear Bryant, and kind of like addressing diversity on the football team, moving, even, I don't know if you're familiar with, but like the burning of the cross in front of our sorority house and things like that. Like there's so much in just that short span of time. It's really not that long ago, and to see how much we've progressed from that to have a Black student magazine on campus and have it be led by people who are, I guess, in a way related or descendants of those events, I think is something like super, super special.
Yeah, definitely. I think not only the sort of duty that you feel being a Black woman and carrying on the presence that Black women have, but you know, following after your sister before you and taking over editor-in-chief, which you ate at. You were eating at when you were president. But no, I think that's a very sacred thing. I think that's something that not a lot of people, you're the only person who is fulfilling that role, and I think that's a beautiful thing to do, and I love that you're giving your time to it.
And I think perpetuity of these things is so important, that seeing as I'm the second person to do it, and I know, and my and you know, Victoria is also my sister as well, so I think knowing that I will not be the last, I'm confirmation that I will not be the last person to hold this position is something so special.
Is that something that's important to you, being an AK, passing the torch and making sure there's room for, you know, people after you to come and continue things and do bigger and better?
And I think that it's kind of indicative of just kind of our mission, making sure that everything that we do, we're not the last person to do that, and that through our sorority we're able to not only uphold the institution in the sorority regard, but also in terms of the magazine itself and how similar they can be in that way, and just sharing in the Blackness that it embodies is basically like I want to say making sure that our house still stands, that we're able to still be active on campus, as well as making sure that 1956 always has this office, is always able to come out with issues twice a year, and things like that is super, super important.
Yeah, you mentioned your house. Tell us a bit about that, because we've been talking, out of all the D9s, one has a house, and when you go out there...
Also, where is it?
We cannot find it.
Really? Okay, so if you're coming from Reese Pfeiffer, you see Doster, Drummond Lion, and down that drive, and if you turn left at that lawn that's behind Drummond, and you go down that street, you'll pass by, I believe it's Kappa Delta, and you go down that street, you'll see Sigma Kappa and Zeta is right in front of us, or Zeta Tau Alpha is right in front of us. So it's a brown house. It has 4 white columns in front, and it's actually really cute because it's decorated for Christmas right now. So there's a whole bunch of like Christmas decorations, and there's pretty pink and green rocking chairs outside. So it's on Magnolia Drive, which is right, I want to say it's not perpendicular. I don't know. I don't do math.
Intersected perpendicular.
It's right, not the street that's on Drummond Line, but it's the next street over. It's a little tiny street. She's cute and quaint. She's got trees like that in there.
Yeah, has it been, I don't want to say a battle, I feel like that's vulgar. Just, you know, being the only Black Greek organization to have a house, or is there a struggle trying to keep it, or to try to get your, you know, Greek relatives and other organizations the same sort of space, and especially with SB 129?
Yeah, absolutely. So we actually, the Alpha Phi Alpha also is the only other NPHC organization that has a house on campus, which is down in, I can't remember the street name. It's by Jefferson. It's behind the, what's it called? The Math and Science building across that lot. I can't remember exactly what the number of the Smithwood. I think it's in Smithwood Circle or Drive or something like that. But I think it's not necessarily a battle like you said, but it's also making sure that there's such a lens that you want to make sure you're not getting, I guess you're, let me see, cut this. I'm trying to not embarrass you. It's like, you want to make sure that you're being mindful of everything that you do because of the passing of these DEI bills. You want to make sure that we're acting in accordance with everything that the university and the state wants us to do to ensure that the house stands forever, because I've met sisters from back before my mom crossed who told me about all of the hardship that they went through to make sure that the house stays. It's switched locations before, and as well as actually the Kappa Alpha Psi had a house. The Sigmas had we make sure that none of these houses disappear. There should be no disappearance of any NPHC houses on campus.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Side note, you know what we should do? We should get B-roll of like a big game in the stadium over the voice of her saying that. That is, I did not know that. Wow.
Yeah. And it's really not recorded anywhere. My source is only people who were on campus during that time. Like when my mom was here, she was like, yeah, they had a house, and when she came back during Game of Bound, she was like, oh, it's not here. So yeah.
That is, yeah, I think. Well, that leads me into my next question was, well, how do you think the D9s are regarded in the campus conscience or by UA?
I think that within our own community, like how all the D9 organizations interact with each other, I think we're super tight knit, and unfortunately we're down one, so we're technically Divine 8 here. We don't have IOTAs, unfortunately, but like hopefully I want to see them come to campus. I think chartering a chapter here would be so cool. But in terms of how we interact with each other, especially since the turning, there's always some sort of friendly competition, friendly rivalry. The step show is coming up this Friday, so we always want to, we're the best sorority, we want to win, or they're the best fraternity, they want to win. But it's all in friendly competition, because at the end of the day, we have to make sure that we have each other's backs, especially on a campus like UA that's constantly under scrutiny based off of things like DEI and things like that.
You think the SB 129 bill has made that not more difficult, but it's definitely put some hurdles on the track?
I think it definitely has. There's a lot of language that you have to be conscious of, that you want to make sure that you don't want to bring, and I don't want to beat a dead horse, but like you just don't want people coming in and making sure that you're in accordance and you're not in accordance with whatever the state bill wants you to make sure that you're in accordance with. So just kind of say that one more time. TT's blanking.
No, you're fine. Just how has the passage of SB 129 affected the D9s or D8, and specifically the AKA standing on campus or in the UA community?
It's different because we have to host our events different places. Like the intercultural, I think it's Intercultural Center now. It's no longer the it was the IDC, Interdiversity Cultural Center. Yeah, right across from, is that Auntie Anne's? Do we have Auntie Anne's?
It used to be.
It's gone?
Yes, it's gone.
Chicken salad shake, which I tried.
Nasty.
But things like that. So making sure we're conscious of where we're hosting our events, making sure that we're public, front facing, and everything that we do is super important. But overall, I wouldn't say that we've had to change too much, because that would have to do with our national organization as a whole. So far we really haven't run into anything too crazy.
Great, hear ye. I was hoping for good news, because everything I hear about smaller organizations that are just on campus only, they're not national or regional or anything, just here at UA, really took a bullet with the.
Yeah. No, I do want to say like events like Onyx that are kind of it's because they're university funded. So things that we do are internally funded, and we crowdsource funding for all of the community service things that we do. But in terms of like performing at Onyx, it's up to whether or not the university wants to continue to fund that, or however the Black Student Union is able to fund things like that. As well as like the step show is hosted by the university. So if they decided to defund it, then there would be no step show. I wouldn't say that, actually. We'd probably still make it happen. But, things like that.
Yeah, I think that was like the big thing about it, right? That so many Black on-campus organizations that have funding from the school, it's cut. You of course you still make it happen, you do things that you can do, but you definitely don't have the publicity that you used to have.
Yeah.
And you take a few hits from it, definitely. I think you have answered just about everything.
Can you repeat that one sentence about the house that was?
Mhm.
You know what I'm talking about.
Okay, so off of, hold on, I'm gonna check and make sure I get this straight.
You're good. I kicked the tripod with my foot when you said it, and I want to just make sure the footage is
Oh,
at least
right.
decent.
Also,
I think it was there, but
let me know if I've been active listening too hard, because every time I went, I was like, God.
I think that one's far enough away that.
I
Okay.
think it's good, yeah. So basically on, oh wait, you want me to frame it?
You don't have to. If you just want to say the sentence, I mean, it'll be chopped
Okay,
up. Yeah.
but essentially back in, I don't want to get the time frame incorrect, but somewhere around the 80s on campus, every D9 organization that was present on campus had a house, and the Delta Sigma Theta Sorority Incorporated had their house underneath what's now demolished, and I believe it's like a paid to park parking spot underneath the overhang of Bryant-Denny Stadium on Colonial Drive, that corner that has the sign, the University of Alabama, like that corner sign by Tut and FIMU is where their house used to be.
That's so crazy to me.
That is like that.
Yeah.
That stadium need to be bigger.
My whole night, like I'm gonna be thinking about this, like.
And they're not,
when I go get that B-roll, I'm gonna be like, whoa.
and I don't think they're the only sorority that house was removed there. I think it was just us and Lambda Zeta that had a house. I don't believe the Zetas had a house, or I don't even know if the Sigma Gamma Rhos were on campus at that time, but the Deltas did have a house. Everybody who was on campus had a house, but now it's just us and the Alphas have a house.
Yeah, that's it's just the conversation of why expansion always comes at Black women's expense, not even just Black women, but Black people's expense, minorities' expense. I think of, did you guys hear about Teen Vogue folding? Teen Vogue folded into regular Vogue, which was fine, but they laid off on the Teen Vogue team every woman of color but one, and I think it was the editor-in-chief. She was a woman of color. She's alive. She is a woman of color.
When was this?
This
like
last week.
Like this,
Really?
Yeah. Essence posted about it, and CultureCon NYC posted about it.
Vogue is taking a turn, but that's a topic for another day.
Definitely. And it's like they're still using Black voices. Though. I read a couple of their articles that went viral recently, written by Black women, and but it's just
even the having a boyfriend is embarrassing.
That's the one. That yeah.
Oh, I read a whole
Black
article
woman.
against it.
I read it and I was like, I don't think this is right, girl.
No, right. Her article was tea.
But it just, whatever Vogue is trying to do, I can't speak to whether or not it's right or wrong because I don't know what the end goal is. But you can't.
You can see from the outside something is raising a couple of questions.
Right,
yeah.
right, and and how Vogue portrays themselves in other countries, like how they're always going to put a light skin or white model, even in like Vogue India or Vogue Arabia, where you have such a huge opportunity, being such a huge publication to showcase people of all different creeds and nations, but
Wasn't there a recent cover like a really bad photo of Timothy Chalamet, like photoshopped in space?
No, he has no shadow.
It was really bad.
He's flat. He's wearing jeans in space.
Jeans.
And like it's like him in like a white lit studio, and the whole background's like the Earth.
And like his cutout is poor, but I'm not gonna say too much. I think our cutout was great, but like, yeah, it was sinister.
They put this out on the show.
They did.
I kind of want it.
No, actually, like just for the plot.
They need to hire those Black women back because
that's why it looks like that.
Oh wow! Also, he shaved his head. He's probably getting a hair transplant.
That's what everyone.
When male white celebrities shave their head,
hair
transplant. That's why. Did you guys see Harry Styles' hairline was like back here? Then he shaved his head, and he was hot in that one music video, whatever, where he had his head shaved, and then he came back, and that hairline was popping.
I need to be on y'all team. Y'all got when men shave their heads, they're getting a transplant.
Yeah.
Whoa!
I didn't know this.
I didn't know that. But now I'm gonna clock it.
They do it when it's always time to where like buzzes are in over again. Like this area now, we're like leaving summer into fall. Everyone's buzzing their heads, and and then they do a cool dye, and then they go, oh, he's dyed his hair, so he's kind of feminine, and he can kind of be gay and get the album sales. come January, he's gonna have that full.
He's gonna have that full unit.
He's gonna disappear for the
Yes.
holidays, go on vacation.
Yes.
Searching.
Mm-hmm.
I'm about to clock that. I'm about to clock that. Like that's actually so serious.
It's
That's like female celebrities wearing like ruffles and like maybe even if you didn't say that and we wouldn't have clocked it otherwise, nobody wears that many ruffles. Lettuce hem. When have we ever been wearing lettuce hem?
Never.
But
Never.
congratulations.
Congrats, girl.
But congratulations.
Yeah. Well, that is all I have. Did you?
Girl,
anything
no.
else? I'm about to say if
I don't
you're
remember that
editing-
No, I think I'm good.
Okay, great. We got everything.